Another dramatic day at the FIFA World Cup in Qatar. Two of the big guns, Germany and Belgium, is sent packing at the group stage. World number 2 ranked Belgium booted from the tournament after they were held 0-0 by Croatia in what was a must-win contest for them. The early exit prompting the resignation of coach Roberto Martinez. No word yet on the status of the German coach Hansi Flick. The Germans did manage to win today, coming from 2-1 down against the Costa Ricans, but it wasn't enough to take them through. As we look at the results, that German disappointment coming via that shocking 2-1 win for Japan over Spain, which most Germans did not anticipate, because if Spain had won that match, the Germans would be through to the round of 16. Germany winning 4-2 over Costa Rica. In the other group, Croatia and Belgium 0-0, and Morocco defeating Canada by 2-1. Morocco actually ending up group winners, and Belgium sent packing. Joining us now, Brent Sancho and Simon Evans. Let's go to the tables first. Japan topping the Group E with 6 points. Spain getting second with 4 points, but with a significantly better goal difference than the Germans, who also had 4 points. Costa Rica with -8 goal difference, bottom of the table on 3 points. But there was a moment 10 minutes before this game ended, or both games ended, that the Costa Ricans were in a position to possibly eliminate Spain, but that didn't quite happen. There's a Group F table. Morocco on top, as we said, by 2 over the 2018 runners-up Croatia. Belgium falling into third spot and finishing fourth. The Canadians without a point, even though they had moments of excitement in the World Cup here. The Canadians, their first appearance at the FIFA World Cup since 1986. The Canadians, and we are now getting ready to join Simon Evans and Brent Sancho to talk about what happened. Can we start with Belgium, though, gentlemen? And maybe Simon first. There were stories about discord in the Belgium camp, which probably affected their overall performance here. How much did you glean from those conflicts in the Belgium camp, and how much do you think it affected their campaign here?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, certainly wasn't a good sign when Kevin De Bruyne at the start of the tournament said, when he was asked, can Belgium finally win the World Cup? I think we're a bit too old to do that. And you know what? It looked right. He looked to be right. They looked a team that were past their best, unfortunately. Although, had Romelu Lukaku managed to turn in one of those several chances he got at the end of the game, we wouldn't be having this conversation about them.
Yeah, and Brent, a quick comment as a former player yourself and someone who went into coaching and team management and team ownership, a little about chemistry in a team, because we did hear stories about Kevin De Bruyne not talking to Courtois. We heard that Lukaku doesn't talk to Batshuayi, and I know players don't have to like each other. It's not a prerequisite. It helps, but there is a line between that kind of discord and how much a team can flourish if there's a problem. Your thoughts?
Look, I'm not sure how much people have paid attention to the fact that this World Cup being in November prevented, of course, the little camps that happens before the preparation. It's normally about a month or so. When we played at the World Cup Trinidad and Tobago, we went to the UK in Manchester, of course, off to Austria, then into Germany. All pre-camps, a lot of team bonding exercises. So whoever or whatever was angry with what was all sorted out there. This World Cup, players were thrown into Qatar probably a week or so before. So a lot of that discord was never, of course, attended to. Belgium in particular, when you hear those sorts of rumors coming out of camp, we heard it in France a couple of World Cups ago, it is certainly happening. There's no team in world football that has discord and, of course, a lack of team bonding or teamness in them will ever win any competition, whether it even be a competition in the SportsMax that we normally have out in the courts next to the station.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to get to the other group in a short while, but for Morocco to top the group and Japan to top the other group, certainly, Simon Evans, one that the bookmakers would not have bargained for.
No, I mean, Japan's performances, today they were astonishingly resilient. Morocco, I've not been quite as surprised as maybe some people have with them. I mean, if you look at that team, So many of them are playing in good clubs, in good leagues, and they're a team that, you know, right from the outset of this tournament look like they could get out of the group, and they do so deservedly, and I think that's fantastic for the tournament and fantastic for international football. And it's great to see Japan doing well. I mean, I just watching the games today with the way it could have twisted and turned at the end, I just had this horrible feeling that the last images we were going to see were, you know, Japanese female fans in the terraces crying their eyes out. And we did, but it was with joy rather than sorrow.
Yeah, definitely, Simon. Brent, this one is for you. Morocco didn't win a match the last time in Russia. This time, you know, they came out all guns blazing.
You know, Morocco is indicative of most African teams. When you get stuff right off the pitch, it's wonderful what they can do on the pitch. Morocco had their challenges, of course, with their management. Ziyech not playing, not part of the team. I think that the administration of Morocco got it right at the right time. And because of that, they were able to come in this tournament buoyed with confidence. But I tell you what, Mariah, for what I've seen from them so far, if I'm a team waiting in those knockout stages, there's two teams I don't want to play. Morocco is one of them, and I would suggest Japan is the other.
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't be satisfied if I didn't go back to the match with Romelu Lukaku. I think he was making the headlines, of course, leaving the ground in tears, especially because he had so many opportunities and he missed them. I was wondering what was wrong with him today.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about Lukaku is he's coming to the tournament unfit. He hasn't been playing. He came on as a sub in the second game and didn't look sharp. And those sorts of chances, I mean, I've never played football at that level, unlike Brent, but I mean, strikers, if they've not been playing games, that kind of sharpness that you need for those little opportunities that balls bounce off a defender and fall to you. And when you're playing regularly and scoring and confident, you put those chances away. And he's come into those games cold and unfit, and he's had the chances and not been able to take them. And I think it's really just, he just wasn't in shape for this tournament.
Yeah, Brent, we see the impact that losing has. Roberto Martinez has resigned. It didn't even take him moments after until he announced this decision, the impact that a World Cup has on a team and on a manager.
Yeah, impact certainly. And of course, what's next for Belgium is obviously a rebuilding, as has been widely, of course, spoken about. This is their golden generation. Maybe the Golden Girls generation because of the age factor, of course. But because of that, you would imagine that a lot of their players are going to exit and retire from international football. And I think it's fair, and Roberto Martinez has done the right thing. I think it's fair for a new manager to be given a new opportunity to put the building blocks in place and start putting together a Belgium team that promised so much in terms of the names, what they've brought to world football, and what was expected of them. And they have not been able to hit the heights that everyone expected them to do. It's quite unfortunate. I do rate Martinez as a manager, and I do expect him to pop up somewhere in world football.
Yeah, before we leave Group F, gentlemen, Brent, a quick comment on the Canadians. Failed to win a match, but there were periods in all three of their games that they looked competitive and looked as if they belonged. It wasn't sustained, but as a CONCACAF team, you know, having spent so long away from the World Cup platform, your report card on what they've done in Qatar.
Now, look, I thought they've been absolutely brilliant. And look, we have to put things into context here. At the end of the day, it's been a while since they've been in the World Cup. A lot of naivety stepped in some of their play. And, of course, a lot of inexperience stepped in. But what the moments, and some of them were quite prolonged at those moments, was quite good. It's a Canada team that, guys, we really didn't expect to top the Hex to go into the World Cup. They blew away the CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers. They were absolutely outstanding, easily the top team in that, of course, Freya thing. And then we expected them to go on to the World Cup and do good things. And I think when you look at it as a whole, I think Canada can only be proud of themselves. I'm certainly proud of them as a CONCACAF nation. Yeah.
Simon, the Group E now, that was a topsy-turvy group. I was mentioning a few minutes ago that 15 minutes before both games ended, when Costa Rica had been level with Germany, there was a threat that Costa Rica, if they pulled off a win over the Germans, could have displaced Spain. Then we would have seen Spain and Germany out. What a way this group has ended, and the Germans out.
Yeah, in fact, there was that little moment when that was the case, that Spain were going out until Germany turned it around, which was incredible. I mean, you know, Germany have got to look back. They obviously didn't lose it today. And I think, Japan could have been regretting not taking care of Costa Rica. And the idea that Costa Rica could have gone through and Spain out after Spain beat Costa Rica 7-1 would have been absolutely crazy. But it was just, a German side that I think had a lot more potential than it showed. I mean, they've got some good young players in that German side, players coming through, I'm surprised really that they've not made it out of that group. And I think, there's going to be questions asked about their manager, Hansi Flick. But, he was somebody who had years and years of experience with the federation. They knew exactly what they were getting with him.
Yeah, and the fact is, Simon, the German team obviously didn't bank on Japan upsetting Spain today. So their focus going into this game today would have been take care of Costa Rica and you should be okay. But that didn't happen. We spoke a few days ago, Simon, about Thomas Müller and my view that I think his days are done for international football. As soon as he came off the field, Germany scored 3 goals.
Yeah, it's the pace that they move at, isn't it? But he's a player who, you could have seen if Germany had a good tournament that he would have been the one scoring the goal in the quarterfinal that got them through and so on, because he just has that nous about him. But, I think there'll be a mini rebuild of Germany. I mean, it's a pretty young side as it is, and I think they'll go even younger. You look at the German youth sides, they're full of talent and they get a lot of games in the Bundesliga, which is something, it's a problem for some countries like England and Spain sometimes, where their young talents don't get enough playing time. That's not a problem for Germany. They're all playing. Germany will bounce back. They always do. It's been a bad run for them, obviously, with this being the second straight World Cup where they've not made it out of a group stage. There'll be a lot of angst and anguish in German football. But they do a lot of things right in German football as well, and I'm sure they'll bounce back from this.
Yes, Simon, and as we're talking about the excitement that we had from the different groups today, news just coming out from The Guardian that there's going to be a new format. They're discussing a new format in 2026 with 48 teams and 3-team star zone. What do you think about that versus the excitement that we normally have with the 4 teams?
Well, I mean, I said it right at the start when they started talking about a 48-team World Cup that 32 is a perfect number, I think. The structure we have, the excitement we have today in that group stage with no second chances, no best third-place team and none of that kind of stuff. It's straightforward. We know it. It works. It goes from 32 to 16 and then onwards in the knockout stage. The 48-team format is done for political reasons, so that FIFA can involve more countries in it, which is a good thing. But, I quite like the idea that actually CONCACAF is doing with the Gold Cup, where you have a kind of mini preliminary tournament the week beforehand, where you're giving that opportunity and that participation without necessarily playing around too much with the format of the main event and reducing the drama and the excitement and the quality.
Yeah, we're going to break shortly, but in 10 seconds, Brent, I saw you nodding there to the comments that Simon made regarding the format. You're not into it yourself?
No, I'm not. I think it's been watered down, and Simon could bear me out here. We saw what happened, of course, with the European Championships when they expanded that tournament as well. I want to just add quickly, of course, I agree with Simon. I think maybe even looking at a World Cup for smaller nations, I think that's something that needs to be looked at as well, because at the end of the day, I think a big or expanding the numbers in the World Cup is going to certainly water it down, and we're going to see some very, very drab games.
Yeah, well, gentlemen, stay with us because we still have more World Cup football to talk about, looking ahead to the matches on Friday, and we'll be back with that right after the break.